Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. I want to start off by apologizing for there not being a Clash of Champions / Saturday Night's Main Event stream this weekend. I was fully prepared to do it, but then a bunch of other things came up that needed my attention, and I needed to knock those things out and get that taken care of. So things got a little busy this weekend. To make up for it, I'm going to be doing 2 live streams this weekend, one on Friday night, and the other potentially late on Saturday night. We shall see, but I will get 2 done this weekend. And I might do, since we're getting close to the end with Saturday Night's Main Event and Clash of Champions, I might do 2 next weekend just to knock them all out. So we'll just go ahead and wrap those up. I gotta be completely honest with you guys. I'm really not looking forward to watching the 2006, 2007, and 2008 Saturday Night's Main Events. I'm really not looking forward to watching those. After watching the first one, I was like, that show was a drag. And it's actually worse than I remember it. I can't imagine how the other ones turn out. It's not even as bad as, like, you know, there are some episodes of the Clash of the Champions and some of the lesser episodes of the classic Saturday Night's Main Events that are not so great. But they're fun. They're kind of fun in a bad way. Like, they're so bad they're fun. Like, the Dungeon of Doom shit is so hilarious that I kind of get a weird enjoyment out of watching it. Like, the Saturday Night's Main Event was just dull. It was just kind of like the typical modern-day WWE, overproduced, formulaic, dull show, and it's like, I kind of like it when it was a little rougher around the edges, and it was faster and shorter, so, not looking forward to watching those, but I'm gonna get through them all, so you're gonna get 2 streams from me this weekend, and then potentially 2 next weekend to finish it out, so I'll be on the lookout for those. Also, another reminder, my WrestleMania live stream, where I'll be watching 2 matches from each WrestleMania. That'll be starting in 2019. The polls are available in the link below in the description, so if you have not voted, you've still got plenty of time to do so. I will be cutting off the voting on February 1st, 2019, so you have a long way until then, but if you haven't voted yet, you can go ahead and do that. Link is down below. So for this video, I've got a few things I want to talk about. We've got Ultimate Lucha starting this Wednesday, which I won't be able to watch on Wednesday because my television service no longer provides El Rey because Univision and Dish Network are going at it like that with each other for some goddamn reason. And so I have to watch it later. I've actually been watching the episodes on Amazon Prime. And so I'm going to watch it eventually, but I'm not going to be able to watch it live on Wednesday night, which means no live stream like I did last year for Ultimate Lucha Trace, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Hopefully I don't have anything spoiled for me. So I want to do a preview for Ultimate Lucha Quattro and talk about it, and then once Ultimate Lucha Quattro is done, I can do an overall review of Season 4 for Lucha Underground. So hopefully that show turns out well, but I'm going to give my thoughts on the card a little later. I also want to review the new Halloween movie. I finally saw it this weekend, and I know I'm a bit late to the party on this one, but the movie's been a big hit at the box office and has done fairly well with critics, so I want to talk about it myself, being a fan of the original and of the Michael Myers character. I want to give my 2 cents and speak to what I thought of the movie. Before I do any of that, we had a show last night. It was WWE Evolution, WWE's first ever all-female pay-per-view event. And this is a show that I've been dreading ever since it was announced. And that's not a knock on the roster. That's not a knock against the female talents. I actually quite like most of the female talents in the WWE. The problem was, anytime you do something female-led, it causes a goddamn shitstorm, whether it be something good like Wonder Woman. I enjoyed that film tremendously, and I've been a fan of the Wonder Woman character since I was a child, but that movie caused a bit of a shitstorm. Black Panther, which had the whole, like, first ever, like, mostly black cast for a major superhero movie, which isn't entirely true if you look at something like Blade, but whatever. You know, that caused a bit of a shitstorm, and the new She-Ra on Netflix has caused so much of a shitstorm that I'm not even going anywhere near it. I was like, I'm just going to stay the fuck away from that. I'm not going to say a word, not going to watch it. I'm just going to steer clear of all that nonsense. So it's just, whenever something like this comes about, it just causes a goddamn shit show. And it's gonna happen with Captain Marvel next year. I'm so looking forward to getting called a Nazi for not thinking it's the greatest movie ever made. And I'm also looking forward to being called a cuck for pointing out the good things about the movie. Because you get these 2 camps that just bicker at each other like rabid dogs. and it sounds like versus and it's just like, God damn it, guys, it's just a show. Can we calm the fuck down? And if you don't like it, just don't watch it. You know, but the flip side of that is, I have no problem with an all-female pay-per-view. This isn't even the first all-female pay-per-view. You know, TNA did a couple with their one-night-only specials. They never got any credit for it, you know. You know, in the mid-'90s, All Japan was doing all-female shows. So it's not even like a new thing, but people treat it like it's a new thing. It's like with that goddamn Ghostbusters movie, where it's like, women need to prove that they can be leads in comedies. And I'm like, motherfucker, I grew up with Madeline Kahn and Gilda Radner. Where the fuck have you been? What, women aren't in comedy? What, did I Love Lucy not happen? Was that not the biggest show in television the decade it came out? Come the fuck on. Give me a goddamn break. But women in comedy is not a new thing, and the idea that they tried to prep it up like it was this progressive idea, I'm like, you're so full of shit. It's ridiculous. And that's my stance on it. Both sides are just full of shit, and they just bicker at each other because they feel like they need to bicker at each other over something stupid. So that's kind of why I was dreading the show. I was dreading the reaction to it, because there were people that are going to hate it no matter what, and there are people that are going to love it no matter what. So you almost can't even trust the reviews. What the hell is that? Sorry, my fan just made a funny noise. I'm not going to edit that out. But anyway, yeah, so like I said, there are people that are going to hate it. There are people going to love it. Doesn't matter. So I've ignored any and all reviews. I am approaching this from a completely non-biased standpoint, and I hold it to the same standard I would any other wrestling pay-per-view. I have no problem with an all-female show. I've said that before. But I will hold it to the same standard as I would any male-centric wrestling show. So, with all of that said, what did I think of WWE Evolution? I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty good show from start to finish, and I think I made the comment on Twitter, it might be the best main roster WWE show that I've seen this year as far as pay-per-views go. I wouldn't put it up there as some of the New Japan shows I've seen this year, or a lot of the NXT specials, or All In, or, you know, some of the shows I really, really, really enjoyed this year, but as far as main roster WWE goes, it's probably their best effort, which isn't saying much, considering there was one show this year that was so bad it broke me and I stopped watching Raw and SmackDown. Oh, Backlash. You are so going to get the worst pay-per-view of the year nod come end of the year, barring something crazy happening. You know, I wouldn't say the show was as good as, like, Slammiversary, which was another show I was a really big fan of, but it was overall a solid, top-to-bottom, entertaining show, with some fun moments, strong efforts throughout. Nothing terrible happened, which is always fun to have. Nothing truly, truly awful. There were some things I liked better than others. Some things didn't quite click with me as well as it did with some other people, I think. But overall, I did enjoy the show pretty much from start to finish. I thought it was pretty good. Let's pull up the card, just make sure I've got the ordering of the matches right. And we'll just knock this sucker out one by one. I want to start off by saying a couple of overall things. This show was a little bit shorter than the now standard pay-per-view length of 4 hours. It was about 3.5. This did not bother me at all whatsoever. It was actually kind of refreshing. I'm like, oh, the show didn't overstay its welcome. That's great. Oh my God, that's great. When it was 10 o'clock and they were just starting Ronda and Nikki, I'm like, okay, either this show is going to go, or this match is going to go super, super long, or they're gonna finish this match out, give it a normal length, and wrap it up, and we're gonna go home. And sure enough, it was over. Everything was pretty much over and done with by, I think, again, like 10:30, maybe even a little earlier than that. I heard some people mention that as a criticism. Oh, it didn't go the full 4 hours. I'm like, motherfucker, I don't need this show to go 4 hours. I don't need any of their main roster shows to go 4 hours, except maybe like the big deals like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, okay? Like, the idea that they're stretching out all their pay-per-views this long, it's just, and that's just killed their pay-per-views this year, where it's just, they feel overly long, overly bloated, with too much padding, and this show had some padding in it that didn't need to be there. This show could have easily been shorter, and it would have been fine, probably would have flowed better. They kept showing all those interviews with all the participants explaining how important this pay-per-view is, and if I do have one problem with this show on a conceptual level, it was and I kind of touched up on it by admitting that there are people that are going to like this show no matter what. It's the WWE patting themselves on the back. Oh yeah, aren't we great? We push women, guys. Aren't we awesome? Oh, we're just the best company in the history of existence. Look at us. We're so great. And that type of stuff is annoying to me. I've made the comment before that WWE kisses their own ass more than any company I've ever seen in existence. Like, in their bubble, they think they really are, like, the greatest thing that's ever existed on this planet Earth. And again, I mentioned Disney. Like, they make Disney look modest by comparison. And to show you what I'm comparing them to, when I saw the trailer to Wreck-It Ralph 2, and I saw, like, Ralph and Sarah Silverman going into the internet and seeing, like, all the things that Disney owns. It's like, oh, there's Marvel, and oh, there's Star Wars. Oh, look at all the Disney princesses. And it's like, oh, look at Disney bragging that they own everything. Look at that. Look how modest they are. But anyway, so I didn't like that aspect of the pay-per-view. The interviews could have been dropped. I felt like it was just unnecessary padding. If you're going to pad time out on a pay-per-view, do it with things that actually are substantial and move a story forward or something. And I'll talk about that when I talk about the ending, but I feel like those could have been dropped. The lighting of the crowd looked very weird because it was darkened and it looked like the whole show was taking place inside of a black hole. Speculation is that they were hiding a less than stellar attendance, which is typically what happens when you do something like that. I'm not going to say that that's the case. I'm just saying that on TV it looked really weird to see. It looked like the girls were performing in like a black hole. And Eric Bischoff has talked about that on 83 Weeks. One of the things that he changed when he took over was kind of move away from the way things were being done before, and it looked really strange, to say the least. And one thing I did like, the show opened up with a like a rockin' performance involving Nita Strauss, who I kind of have a crush on. So that was nice to see. That was actually a nice way to open up the pay-per-view. I enjoyed that. And other than that, let's just go jump right into the matches themselves. We opened up with a little surprise that this was the opener. Trish Stratus and Lita versus Mickie James and Alicia Fox subbing for Alexa Bliss. I did kind of feel bad for Alexa because I got the feeling that she really wanted to perform on the show. And it was nice that she was in the heel's corner and it gave her something to do, like some kind of a role to play. But she would have been a much better fit for this match than Alicia Fox. More on her in a bit. But I thought this match was good. I thought it was a good, solid opener. It was a nice showcase for the legends. I thought Trish looked great. Lita looked fine. She didn't almost kill herself on the moonsault this time, which ever since the Royal Rumble, I'm like, every time she climbs to the top rope now, I'm going to cringe because they're like, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. This time she hit the moonsault perfectly, and it's like, okay, good. Maybe the Rumble was just a one-time thing, but yeah, I thought the girls looked great. I thought it was nice to see Mickie and Trish tangle again, renewing their old rivalry. This was a good, solid nostalgia match, and that's basically what it was. And again, Trish looked fantastic in this. I made the comment on Twitter. I was like, in 2006, I said Trish and Mickie were the two hottest girls in the company, and in 2018, at the very least, in this match, they're the two hottest girls in the match. So, and, still damn fine talents to this day. So, major credit to them. I thought this was a enjoyable opener. The one major flaw was Alicia Fox completely mistiming breaking up the pinfall and the referee having to stop at what would have been a 3 count, and it just looked like, oh, that's bad. That's bad when that happens, but other than that, I thought the match was fun. Faces went over. It was nice. If you're a fan of Trish Stratus and Lita in that era, you would probably enjoy this match. Next up, we had the Battle Royal for a shot at a Women's Championship. Now, this match was basically what the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal from WrestleMania 25 should have been, where they gave us the entrances for the legends that came back. So, I popped for Molly Holly, I popped for Alundra Blaze, I popped for Ivory. It was like, oh, it's cool to see them. And Molly is one of those ones that I've always had a soft spot for because she was always kind of one of the ones that got shit on back in the day. And I thought I always thought she was cute, like super, super adorable. And I thought she was a really good worker, and she always just kind of was like the butt of people's jokes. Literally, they made fun of her fat ass, which, yeah, she's got a fat ass. Okay, sure. Fine. Okay, WWE, I believe you. And it was nice to see Ivory again as well, and Ivory actually was one of the standouts in the Battle Royal, so this was fun. It was just a pretty typical Battle Royal, but that's pretty much what you expect out of this. I'm not sure if Nia Jax would have been my pick to win it, just because A, she's already faced Ronda Rousey, and B, her character has been so inconsistently pushed that I don't have much of a connection to her. I would have rather seen it go to Ember Moon, who seemed to be the most over girl in the match. I wouldn't have minded Ivory, to be perfectly honest, just to create something different. But it was, again, the match was enjoyable for what it was. It was a fairly typical battle royal, but it was enjoyable. I liked Zelina Vega hiding under the ring. She hid well. I completely forgot that she was out there hiding under the ring and trying to sneak out. Although I thought Tamina got hurt when Nia threw Zelina Vega outside the ring, and Tamina had to catch her. And it looked like Zelina need Tamina right in the face. I haven't heard anything about an injury, so I guess Tamina's okay. But that spot was a little scary. But for the most part, I thought this was an enjoyable battle royal. A lot of fun. A lot of talents got showcased. And it was good. It was good, solid stuff. Next up, we had the Mae Young Classic Finals with Toni Storm taking on Io Shirai. I was expecting this to be one of the better matches on the show. And given the talent involved, I'm not going to say I followed these two girls' careers closely, but I have seen them before, and I like what they've done. I really like Toni Storm in last year's Mae Young Classic. I haven't watched any of this year's. I still haven't watched any of the earlier rounds. I'm probably going to have to burn through that and marathon that at some point this week. But, yeah, so I know that both girls are really, really good. So I was expecting this to be one of the better matches on the show. Unfortunately, they got in front of that crowd, and the crowd was kind of muted in their reaction to them initially. And I was like, oh, shit, they don't know who they are. And it was, yeah, the crowd reaction was not exactly what I would have wanted it to be, so they couldn't have that truly classic, energized, great, potentially show-stealing match that I thought they were capable of. As is, it was just kind of an ordinary, okay match. I think they kind of won the crowd over by the end of it, and by the end of it, I think it served as a nice main roster audition for both girls, but it wasn't like kind of the runaway home run hit I was kind of hoping for, but I think that was because the crowd just didn't know who they were. I think that's what happened there. But overall, okay match, nice showcase for them. Not as good as I thought it could have been, but again, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the crowd just didn't know who they were. Toni Storm got the win, so she wins the Mae Young Classic, and hopefully that means bigger and better things for her down the road. Actually, one thing I noticed, I didn't watch the pre-show to this show, and I remember there was supposed to be an NXT UK Women's Championship match, which they moved to the pre-show. Rhea Ripley defeated Dakota Kai. I didn't see that match, so I would know Rhea Ripley if you put her in front of me. I know very, very little about her. I didn't really get to see her on this show either. She was just tucked away on the pre-show, so that's one match I missed. Next up was the 6 women's tag, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Natalya, taking on the Riot Squad, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and Sarah Logan. Couple of things I want to say about this. Number one, Liv Morgan's hair looks stupid. She is an attractive girl until you make your hair look like cotton candy, and it's like, honey, you look like an idiot now. And okay, I'm just going to get up on my stupid, potentially male chauvinist soapbox here, but I don't care. Because I've had women criticize me and dump me and reject me because of my fashion choices. I had one girl reject me because she found out through the grapevine that I own denim shorts, and that's a big fashion faux pas. It's like, well, I don't wear them on dates or like when I go out. I wear them around the house because they're comfortable, and I wear them when I go to the store because fuck it, I just want to throw something on and go to the goddamn store. I don't want to dress nice to go to the goddamn grocery store. They're largely worn for lounging around, but I've been told that and wearing football jerseys are big fashion faux pas that I should be strongly discouraged from ever doing that. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I will take that advice. You know, I'll take it. I'll file that away and take it under advisement. However, I'm going to turn around and criticize something that I can't stand, which is women that dye their hair to the point that they look like crayons. Liv Morgan, you see it here with their pink cotton candy hair, you look stupid. Sasha Banks with her Muppet hair looks stupid. Eva Marie, when she was around, and everybody went on about how hot Eva Marie was, and I'm like, motherfucker, I can't get past how dumb her hair looks. It's like, oh, she dyed it purple now. It's like, now she looks like Grimace died and lives on her head, or like, it died, no, it looks like she killed Grimace, skinned it, and decided to wear Grimace on her head for some goddamn reason. She looks like an idiot. And, various other things like that. I'm like, look, I don't mind dyeing your hair, but could you make your hair look like a natural hair color? Because when you make yourself look like a Muppet or a crayon or a magic marker or cotton candy in Liv Morgan's case, you look a lot less attractive to me. I'm sorry. You look silly and you look stupid, and you should seriously reconsider your life choices. The hottest girl in this match was Sarah Logan. She didn't dye her hair. She looks perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. The only one who kind of gets away with it is Becky Lynch, because she, even though that's clearly not her natural hair color, she dyed it a shade of red that looks like it could kind of sort of pass for a natural hair color, so I let it slide with Becky, but everyone else, no, you look like, stop looking like magic markers, you look ridiculous. But anyway, just off the soapbox, send your hate mail to me in the comments down below. I'm sure I will probably catch some heat for that. But anyway, the 6-woman tag match was probably the only match on the show that I didn't enjoy. Mainly because there were a few confusing bits in it. There were some slow parts, but there were also some bits that really didn't make any sense. The biggest of which was when Bayley shielded Sasha on the top rope move. And I'm like, all right, if you're going to do something like that, you've got to like time it to where Bayley dives on top just in time to take the hit. Kind of like the way DIY did it in that ladder match where Johnny Gargano took the hit for Ciampa, where he just pushed him out of the way as the hit was coming. They didn't do that. Bayley just laid on top and waited for the hit to come. And in the amount of time it took to do that spot, I was like, Bayley, just pull Sasha out of the way. What are you doing? Come on, honeybee. You're smarter than that. And there was also, like, Sasha tried to do the flip dive that didn't get over well. She looked like she almost pulled a Brie Bella, and you should never pull a Brie Bella. But that said, the real star of the match, I thought, was Natalya. It was like, oh, the double sharpshooter spot was cool, and she had a couple of cool moments. She broke up a pinfall before the count even started. I'm like, see, that's smart. That's ring psychology right there. Alicia Fox, take notes. Because a lot of times they break up the pin at 1, 2, oh my god. And I'm like, look, if Natalya's there and she's like, what? Why wait for it to get to 2? Just break up the pin before the count even starts. I'm like, yeah, that's smart. Fucking smart. Makes sense. And there doesn't have to be 87 near falls in every single match either. So, Natalya to me was the one like really true standout from a work standpoint, and Sarah Logan, because I have a sweet tooth for her, also was a standout. But overall, this was probably the weakest match on the show and the one that I enjoyed the least. But it wasn't like an abomination of a match. It was just one that I looked at when it was done. I'm like, that could have been better. But anyway, it was pretty much just an excuse to get these girls on the show. And I don't want to say it served as filler necessarily, but it was there just an excuse to get the girls on the show. Next up, we closed out with the 3 title matches. First up, we had Kairi Sane defending the NXT Women's title against Shayna Baszler. This match was going really well, and I was really liking it. And then the interference happened from Shayna's girls, and I forget their names, I'm sorry, the MMA horsewomen, whatever they want to call it, Ronda Rousey's posse. And they interfered and ultimately cost Kairi Sane the match. And that's fine, but it came off a little clunky. It got to a point where I was like, how'd the referee not see any of that? And another criticism I have, and I've made this criticism about many matches in the last few years, they did an injury where Shayna was working over Kairi Sane's arm for most of the match. And I've said it before, if you're going to do an injury as part of your storytelling, it should play into the finish. My idea, where I thought they were going to go with it, is that Sane was going to hit the insane elbow, but do it with the injured arm, and that would, like, fuck her up and cost her the match ultimately, and then Shayna would be able to, like, quickly recover and, either roll her up or put her in an arm bar for the submission win or something like that. The injured arm should have cost Kairi the match, I think. Or, if the face is going to win, which didn't happen here, if that's going to happen, she should find a way to overcome that injury. Because at that point, it's like, all right, the insane elbow's out of my repertoire. I got to come up with something new. And again, this is not a knock on the women. I've seen the men do this plenty of times. The prime example I always go back to is that Dusty Rhodes Classic on NXT. It's an NXT example, and normally they're good about this type of stuff. But they did the leg injury with Finn Balor when he teamed with Samoa Joe. And then you go into the match, the finals, is like, ooh, Finn's going in there hurt. Is he going to be okay? Then the match ends with him hitting the coup de grace as if nothing happened. It's like, well, what was the point of the injury if he was just going to win with his normal finisher anyway? And I know I've beat that horse to death, and I don't mean to keep harping on Finn Balor for doing that. I just want to highlight, this is a point I've made many times. That might be the best example of what I'm talking about. But again, if you're going to do an injury angle, I feel like it should play into the story of the match, which this one didn't really do as well as I was hoping. But criticisms aside, I thought the match was overall pretty good. Shayna is believably tough and just a great bully character, and I really enjoy watching her. And Kairi's that great plucky underdog, so I can't imagine any match these two girls having being bad, because they do have such a believable chemistry with each other. I would have liked a little fine-tuning on this one to make it better, but overall I thought it was a pretty solid match. Shayna Baszler won the title, is now the new NXT Women's Champion. We'll be seeing where that goes, because I imagine she's going to defend the title again at the upcoming TakeOver, so we'll see who they line up for. But overall, I thought this was a solid match, not as good as it could have been, maybe kind of fell apart a smidge towards the end, but overall not bad. Next up, we had the match of the night, by far. Becky Lynch successfully defending the WWE SmackDown Women's title against Charlotte Flair in a last woman standing match. This was brutal, wild, hardcore action from the word go, and was an excellent showcase from both girls. I thought they did an amazing job. There were a couple of issues that knock it down maybe a smidge for me. Again, if I'm booking this match, I would have done a double turn, because I just feel like, look, Becky should be the face and Charlotte should be the heel at this point. Like, let's not go against the grain. And sure enough, the crowd reacted in that exact same manner, but I should have also known they're not going to do that, so I'll just accept the match for what it is, accept the story for what it is. There were a couple of other things, like the table not breaking on the moonsault, which they made up for with the flip dive, so it was okay, they covered it up. And on the finish, I thought was really weird, because they were selling like Charlotte was going to get back to her feet, and they were selling it like she barely just missed it, and she just missed the 10 count. Unfortunately, I think either the count was too slow and Charlotte was just stretching for time, or something went wrong there, but it looked like Charlotte got to her feet, or at least got further up than she did on some of the near falls where the referee waved the count. So to me, it looked like she got to her feet towards the end there. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch it. And I was like, I mean, she did get powerbombed through a table on the outside. I would have just had her lay down the whole time and let that be the finish. Just like not even have her stir. And they were trying to sell it like she was injured anyway, so just let her get injured. You don't have to. And I get it with the babyface. You want the babyface to be like this hero, but she already had that moment when she came up from out of the pile, which was a really cool spot. Which I welcomed with dog pile on the Charlotte, because I'm a Bugs Bunny fan and I like to reference that shit. But where Becky was throwing chairs and all sorts of shit on Charlotte, and Charlotte kind of burst out of the pile like she was Superman or something. But I made the joke on Twitter, it looked like she has Cena powers, but it was a cool looking spot, and the facial expressions on both of them was fantastic too. So yeah, I thought this was a great match overall. Couple little teeny tiny nitpicks, but they are just teeny tiny nitpicks. Very enjoyable. Becky got the win. And I was kind of like, oh god, how is the main event going to follow this? There's no way the main event's going to be able to follow this. Fortunately, I was incorrect. Ronda Rousey did defeat Nikki Bella to retain the Raw Women's Championship, to the surprise of nobody, but they ended up having a pretty solid match. I kind of expected the last woman standing match to completely steal their thunder and leave this match kind of lackluster, and it wasn't as good as the last woman standing match, but it was still a perfectly fine main event. Actually, I'm going to do this. Let me go through all the pay-per-view main events of 2018. Let me see if I can pull that list up. Come on. All right, WWE pay-per-view 2018. Here we go. All right, I'm going to look at all the pay-per-view main events for 2018. Again, non-NXT shows, because those are actually good, so I don't want to make fun of those. But, okay, Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella. All right, so we've got... All right, we're going to exclude the Royal Rumble match, because that's a Royal Rumble match and almost like a completely different thing. All right, for Elimination Chamber, we had Strowman versus Elias versus John Cena versus Reigns versus Miz versus Balor versus Rollins. That match that I have almost no memory of. Yeah, I have almost no memory of that match, to be perfectly honest. Then at Fastlane, we had Styles versus Cena versus Owens versus Zayn versus Corbin versus Dolph, another match I have almost no memory of. WrestleMania, we had Lesnar versus Reigns, which was a disaster. Skipped the 50-man Rumble. Reigns versus Joe, which was a main event that was so bad that it got me to stop watching Raw and SmackDown. And that was, what, in May? And I still haven't watched back-to-back Raws or SmackDowns in a long time. Actually, last week I watched... SmackDown 1000 was the first SmackDown I've watched in forever, and last week's Raw was the first Raw I've watched in forever, so... that is that. Money in the Bank, I didn't see. Extreme Rules, Ziggler versus Rollins, I didn't see it, but I heard that the crowd kind of made fun of it. That was the Iron Man match, right? So the crowd kind of made fun of it with the timer and everything. SummerSlam was Lesnar versus Reigns, which was stupid. Hell in a Cell was Reigns versus Strowman, which was stupid. Super Showdown was Undertaker versus Triple H, which was long and kind of blasé. Ronda Rousey versus Nikki Bella might be the best one-on-one pay-per-view main event from the WWE in 2018. I'll just let that speak for itself. I will just let that slide. But I liked what they did with this match, where they worked it in a way where Nikki could only get an advantage because of Bree's cheating, because it's like that's the only way that she could be any kind of a believable match for Ronda, is if they have like some interference from the other Bella. And it was fun, it was solid, it was a pretty good, solid match, and that's really all there is to say. Ronda won, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, but it was overall a solid main event that I had really no issues with. It was just a perfectly solid match. And that was the end of the show. We also closed with another thing I wasn't a huge fan of, which is the curtain call, where all the women came out on the stage and basically congratulated each other. Not a fan of that, mainly because I'm the type that's like, I'm all about story first. And it's like, yes, do that backstage. Like, have the party backstage. But in front of the camera, I don't like to have the fourth wall broken. I like to be completely immersed in all the stories. And I don't want... Perfect example, Charlotte was standing right there on the stage. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be in the hospital right now? I thought you were dead. That last match, you looked pretty close to dead. And now you're standing up on the stage acting perfectly fine. And it's like, stuff like that just kills it for me. And it's like, you know why the older eras were better? Why, like, the 80s were better with Jim Crockett and Rocket and Wrestling era WWF and the Attitude Era and like WCW, like 96, 97, when that show was at its best. You know what those shows did really well? They didn't break the goddamn fourth wall, and they kept the stories in the forefront and kept the animosity up and kept the stories developing. And that's why those products were more exciting than the modern product typically are. Because I think there's, like, part of the problem with the modern day mindset of wrestling is that they really emphasize match quality over the build-up in the story, when really it's the build-up in the story that drive the intrigue for why I even give a shit about the matches in the first place. And when you have them, like, high-fiving each other and hugging each other and standing up on the stage, and Charlotte no-selling an injury and all that other stuff, it kind of kills it for me. And again, I don't want to sound like I'm just ragging on the women, because this happens way too fucking much in modern day wrestling. It's like, yes, we all know it's a fake. We know it's fake. We know it's a work. I know. But you know what? When I'm watching Infinity War, I don't want to see Thanos do the fucking snap and then have the closing image of the fucking movie be Robert Downey Jr. and Thanos fucking high-fiving each other. It's like, yeah, we really won the audience over with that one. Oh my god, what's gonna happen next, guys? I don't know, but man, awesome movie. Marvel just killed it with this one. You know, if I'm watching Godzilla versus fucking King Ghidorah, because I'm a Godzilla fan, I'm going to make this reference, I don't want to see Haru Nakajima take his suit off and be like, man, guys, that was a great fight scene. We filmed that one really well, man. I don't want to see that shit. I want the stories to be, I don't want the fourth wall to be broken, and I want the stories to be maintained. And you know who does that really well? NXT does that really well. Lucha Underground does that really well, for the most part. Even with all its wild insanity, they never break the fourth wall on that show. And those are the shows that I enjoy watching. Go figure. Just throwing it out there. And NXT's done it a few times, and I criticize them whenever they did it. And that's not to say you can't have, like, a post-match celebration where, like, two enemies become friends and they hug each other. But again, like, the story needs to be maintained, and the illusion needs to be maintained. And as long as you don't do anything that breaks the illusion, I'm generally okay with it. But to have all the heels and all the faces get up on the goddamn stage, and Charlotte no-selling an injury, and all them high-fiving and hugging each other, I'm like, I don't like that. Maybe I'm just being an old fart. Yeah, old man yelling at the sky, I know. But maybe I'm being an old fart, maybe I'm being a little pissy pants, but that's just, I don't like it when I see that in wrestling now. It's like, dude, look, again, we know it's fake. We know. Don't tell me it's fake while I'm watching the show, though. Come on. Come on, man. But other than that, I thought Evolution was a really good show. I thought very enjoyable. The last woman standing match is definitely worth checking out. That alone is worth checking out. And the rest of the show, there was nothing, like I said, there was nothing terrible on the show. Some matches probably could have been better. But there was nothing on the show that I hated. It was, again, a perfectly solid, entertaining show with one really outstanding match on there. And I thought Nikki and Ronda, I'll probably say Nikki Ronda was probably my second favorite match on the show, to be perfectly honest. The best pay-per-view main event from WWE this year. Again, interpret that how you will. But overall, I mean, I stand by my earlier sentiment, and it's probably not saying much because pay-per-view efforts from WWE this year have not necessarily been terrible, but they've been so muddled and overly long and bloated and all the other problems I talked about where, not necessarily terrible shows, but they're just kind of like mixed bags, and I'm like, that didn't feel like it was completely worth my time. This one was solidly entertaining from start to finish, and again, they ended half an hour earlier than most of the other ones did, and it felt so much better because it didn't overstay its welcome, and I'm like, oh, God, you finished before midnight? Yay! Hooray! Thank you so much. But yeah, Evolution, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good show, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this review anyway because it was not a glowing 100% perfect review, so I'm probably a bigot, a misogynist, and a Nazi, and it wasn't a completely shitting on it review, and I actually pointed out a lot of good stuff, so I'm sure I'm a dickless cuck. So that is that. So that's enough talk about Evolution. One thing I do want to do before I talk about Ultimate Lucha and Halloween, because I didn't do the stream this week, I do want to talk about the weekly shows that I watched last week and give, like, brief reviews of them. I did watch last week's Raw. I'm not watching this week's Raw. It's actually in progress while I'm filming this. Oh, well. But I thought last week's Raw was actually, like, a pretty damn good show, all things considered, with all the different turns that they did. And Ambrose is... Again, Ambrose turning heel on a night where you would have never expected him to turn heel, I thought was a masterstroke on WWE's part. And hopefully they did something good with it. I'll find out when I see the Raw results later. Again, I got busy with other things. I couldn't watch it. I'm in Halloween watching mode, man. I got to watch Night of the Living Dead right after I'm done filming this. But anyway, I thought Raw last week was pretty good with a lot of character changes and storyline developments, and, you know, Roman's announcement, which was heartbreaking, was also like a standout moment that I recommend checking out, even if it probably is tough to watch for a lot of people. So Raw last week was actually good. Also watched NXT, which had a great angle at the end where Johnny Gargano was revealed as the one that attacked Aleister Black. I was like, okay, here's the thing. I didn't see it coming, and now thinking about it, I feel stupid for not seeing that, not guessing Gargano first, because, all right, it has to be a face turn heel for this angle to work, because it's all, whenever it's a mystery angle like this, it's got to be a face turn heel. Otherwise, what's the point? Or a brand new heel we've never seen before. It's got to be one of those two things, and I was assuming it was going to be someone on the NXT roster that we knew, and Gargano, who has been battling darkness lately, who's been falling out of favor with the fans lately, and trying to find himself lately, and found himself put into a triple threat match where he wanted Ciampa one-on-one, and all of a sudden he gets his wish again when Aleister Black goes down. It's like, I should have figured out it was Gargano right from the beginning. Now I feel like a moron, but I thought it was really effectively done. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. If we get Gargano versus Black out of this, I think that could be a really, really good match. And so NXT gets a big thumbs up from me this week just for the angle alone, and a few other good things that they did, development-wise, and, you know, showcasing the Undisputed Era, even though I hate that name, showcasing them really well, and putting Velveteen Dream into a challenger position, which is really good. So a lot of good things on this week's NXT. I thought it was a pretty solid show. Lucha Underground last week, which could have been Ultima Lucha Quattro Part 1, since the whole show was basically just the Gift of the Gods title match. I'm like, you know, you could have called this Ultima Lucha Part 1, and I think we all would have been okay with it. But anyway, it was this 7 to Survive match for the Gift of the Gods Championship, ultimately won by Jake Strong, who they seem to be pushing him really heavily, and he may even walk out with the belt by the end of the season, because now he's the Gift of the Gods champion. I'm just like, never been the biggest fan of Jack Swagger. I think Lucha Underground has presented him better than most because he's bigger than most of the guys there, so his size is a huge advantage to him, and they're just letting him be a killer, and it kind of works. It's just his promos are still really weak, though. He's never been that good on the stick, and sounds very awkward. Again, I know it's hypocritical of me to say that somebody else sounds awkward, but I'm also not getting paid to be a talker either, so, I'm not getting paid to go out on TV and be a star, so, there's that, but, I thought the match itself was pretty good, with a lot of wild moments. Dante Fox, it's great to have him back. Aerostar on the forklift, that was a crazy spot, and there was some great brawling throughout the match, so I thought the match was really entertaining and very enjoyable. And we got that closing cinematic with Johnny Mundo being handed the Gauntlet of the Gods, which has been in the care of Drago. Well, Cuerno gave it to Aerostar, and now Aerostar is giving it to Johnny Mundo to equalize his match with Matanza at Ultima Lucha. So the stage is set for that match, and that was a really cool scene and kept a lot of different things in continuity that I really liked. So overall, really good Lucha Underground last week. And then we had Impact Wrestling, which I watched. I thought the show was okay. The best part about it was probably Scarlett Bordeaux, who they finally put in front of the live crowd. And she looks amazing, by the way. And it's nice to put her in front of a crowd where they can react to her. We had a few other solid matches here and there. The main event was good, with Mundo taking on Phoenix for the Impact Wrestling Championship. Thought that was a pretty good match. Overall, not like a standout show, but overall like an okay one. And you get to see Killer Cross and Moose being a team and being brutes, which is cool. And a few other things. So they did some things this week that I enjoyed. Overall, like a watchable show, not a great one. Then we had Lucha Underground, which was not Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, which I watched and was labeled as the Championship Edition, which featured 3 big matches. The television title match between Jeff Cobb and Punishment Martinez, where Jeff Cobb basically squashed Punishment Martinez to become the new champion. Punishment Martinez is out the door, so now we've got Jeff Cobb to take over as the new monster. I like Jeff Cobb a lot. I liked him as Matanza in Lucha Underground, so I think he's a really good pickup for ROH, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does as TV champion, because I think he could be really good. We had the Briscoes versus Coast to Coast for the tag titles, which was okay. I like the setup with Coast to Coast being undefeated throughout 2018 and using that as the justification for a title shot. The match itself was okay, nothing great, fairly typical Briscoes match. Briscoes got the win, so nothing really happened. It was just kind of a match that was there. And we got Marty Scurll versus Chris Sabin in what I thought was an okay match. So not a lot to write home about on this show, but Jeff Cobb's cool, so he gets a thumbs up for me. But it's not a show that I feel like you need to go out of your way to see either. It was just kind of a fairly especially that's kind of disappointing considering that the show was supposed to have like big title matches and big moments, and the best thing on the show was the squash match, so take that for what you will. So those are my thoughts on all the weekly wrestling shows I watched this week. So now let's go and preview Ultima Lucha Quattro. Let's pull up the card, pull it up. What are you doing? Alright. No, that's the Evolution card. There we go. Ultima Lucha. Alright, so unfortunately, a big disappointment right off the bat is that Ultima Lucha just kept getting bigger and bigger with each season, with them adding a new part to it, because it's split out over a couple weeks. The first Ultima Lucha was spread out over 2 weeks. Then in Season 2, they spread it out over 3 weeks. And then in Season 3, they spread it out over 4 weeks. And it was like, holy shit, this show just keeps getting bigger and bigger. They couldn't move it to 5, but instead they downed it to 2, and that feels like a huge downgrade. It's like, ugh, what happened there? It's like we're getting a lot less than we typically get, but so we're getting 2 episodes of Ultima Lucha, with the season finale being a 2-hour show, as per usual. And let's cover the matches that are going to be on night 1. For the Trios Championship, we're having an elimination match featuring the Reptile Tribe, Cobra Moon, Daga, and Jeremiah Snake. They will be defending the gold against the New Rabbit Tribe. Killer Cross is the White Rabbit, Paul London and El Bunny, taking on the makeshift team of Evilise, Exolicious, and Sammy Guevara. I feel like, and when Joey Ryan was in the mix before he got injured in the storyline, the Exolicious, Joey Ryan, Evilise team wasn't really working for me. It felt like they were trying to recreate the magic of Son of Havoc and Helico and Evilise, and that just hasn't really click. They just feel like kind of a joke team without the nuances, the relationships, or the reason to care. It was just kind of like, oh, let's just throw these people in there. And now Sammy Guevara's in there, and he's just kind of like, oh, okay, random dude thrown in. Again, I'm not knocking Sammy. I'm just saying this is the storyline. It's sadly, they're probably going to win this match, which I think would be kind of a disservice, because I kind of like the Reptile Tribe, and I kind of like this new Rabbit Tribe, which is very brutal and creepy and weird. But it is an elimination match. If it were up to me, I would have it come down to the Reptile Tribe and the Rabbit Tribe and just let them go at it and just wait and see what happens and pick one of them to go over, probably the Rabbit Tribe, because I think they did put so much, for a season where they didn't do as many cinematics, they seem to give a lot of them to the Rabbit Tribe, so I would kind of like it if they got their payoff and they ultimately walked out with the Trios title, so here's hoping for that. But I think the match could be really good. Could be a really fun, action-packed Trios title match. We also have Taya versus Ricky Mundo, which is interesting, playing off the wedding angle where Ricky Mundo unleashed Matanza, who came down to the ring and ruined Taya and Johnny Mundo's wedding. So this is going to be Taya out for revenge against her former ally, if you will, in the Worldwide Underground. Taya, again, this match was taped months and months ago, so it's almost stupid of me to say this, but she's coming off like a really hot match with Tessa Blanchard at Bound for Glory. So I'm kind of high on Taya right now, and hopefully her and Ricky go out there and have another cool, like, intergender match that Lucha Underground's been killing lately, what with Reclusive versus Pentagon and Marty the Moth versus Mariposa. Both of those matches were outstanding, and hopefully this one does something. And maybe, I wonder if we'll get some kind of payoff with the creepy talking doll that's been influencing Ricky Mundo's actions, which is one of my favorite silly things that Lucha Underground does. It's like, yeah, it's a talking baby doll that's telling them to do evil things. It's fantastic. It's great. Great old, like, grindhouse horror movie shit, which is what Lucha Underground's known for, so I really enjoy this. I would expect Taya to go over and get her revenge, but we'll see how that all goes. Then we have the Mask versus Mask match, Killshot versus Son of Havoc. This has been building all year, back to when Son of Havoc took over as the third man on their trios team. It was originally Killshot, the Mac, and Dante Fox. Dante Fox was MIA for the start of the season, don't know why. And Killshot didn't like Son of Havoc being the replacement, and they've been contentious against each other ever since. And now it all comes to a head in a Mask versus Mask match, Killshot versus Son of Havoc. Who gets unmasked? I don't know. Like, I don't know who would win. I guess Killshot would win, because I've seen Son of Havoc unmasked, so I don't think it would be less damaging to take the mask off of him. And I think Killshot has a way more interesting backstory as a character, where the mask is more essential to his identity. So I would probably have Killshot go over here, but we'll see how it goes. I'm expecting a really good match out of these two. These two always come through, it seems, and I think this could be a really good one. Now, we move on to the 2-hour finale. We're going to be getting a 2 out of 3 falls match between El Dragon Azteca Jr. and Phoenix. El Dragon Azteca was kind of having a breakout season with the Gift of the Gods title run, which got cut short, and now he's been feuding with Phoenix. And Phoenix, who is the fucking ace of Lucha Underground, can do no wrong, always comes through, but he's been doing this angle where he got killed in the Grave Consequences match earlier this season. When he got revived, he was possessed by the evil of Katrina's soul, so now he's a heel, a monster heel that's going around pushing around Melissa Santos and various other things. So I think this could be one of the standout matches of Ultima Lucha. I think it'd be really good. And I'm going to pick Phoenix to win, just to keep, because I know Phoenix and Mil Muertes are the two that are the unbeatens in Ultima Lucha. And I would like to see that stick. And because maybe in Season 5 they could do Phoenix versus Mil Muertes with both undefeated streaks on the line. And assuming there's going to be a Season 5, here's hoping. I feel like our buttholes all get tight every season finale. It's like, is it coming back? Is it coming back? Is it coming back? But anyway, I expect this match to be really good. I'm going to pick Phoenix to go over just to maintain his undefeated streak, which also gives away my prediction for the next match, the Mac versus Mil Muertes in a death match, playing off their feud that has been going on all year long, starting with when the Mac had Mil Muertes eliminated from the Gift of the Gods contention, and Mil Muertes has been targeting him ever since. They had the Haunted House match, which was pretty good, and Muertes destroyed him in that. And then Mac came back and is targeting Mil Muertes, and he wants revenge. So now it's going to be the Mac versus Mil Muertes in a death match. Again, as I said, Mil Muertes is undefeated at Ultima Lucha. I expect this to stick. I'm going to go with Muertes. I got a lot of heels going over here. Jesus. I'm a dick. But yeah, I expect this to be another really good, wild, hardcore match between these two. I love watching the Mac. He's so likable. And just the whole gimmick of this big fat guy that can do these amazing athletic things, I think is a really good personality and identity for him. And Mil Muertes, I think, is just one of the key guys in Lucha Underground's history. Like, if I were going to do a top 5 most important guys in Lucha Underground, it's like Prince Puma, who's no longer there, Pentagon Dark, Pentagon Jr., Phoenix, Muertes, and Johnny Mundo. Those are the 5 like key pillars in Lucha Underground's history, for me anyway. And Muertes, he always comes through in the big matches, and I expect this to be a really cool match. Next up, we have the Sacrifice to the Gods match. Johnny Mundo taking on the monster Matanza Cueto in Johnny Mundo getting revenge for Matanza ruining his wedding to Taya. And Matanza all season long has been sacrificing wrestlers to the gods. He took out 2/3 of the Rabbit Tribe. He took out most of the Worldwide Underground. He's taken out all these guys where a Sacrifice to the Gods match is if Matanza wins, you get sacrificed to the gods. I'm assuming that the loser gets sacrificed to the gods. So the lights go out, we hear thunder, the lights come back on, the person's gone, presumably dead. And that's how characters get written off on Lucha Underground. So Matanza is just this death-dealing monster that's just eating souls and writing people off the show. It's like the body count this season has been insane, by the way. The amount of guys that have been written off the show. But Mundo has the gauntlet, he's got his equalizer, and he's got the motivation he needs to take the monster down. So I think Johnny Mundo goes over here. Matanza gets sacrificed to the gods, and that might be the end of Matanza Cueto and his run in Lucha Underground. We shall see how that goes. But I'm expecting this to be a good, solid match with Mundo getting his big win. And then we have the main event, a Cero Miedo match, the return of the Cero Miedo match, all the way back to you longtime Lucha Underground watchers. This goes back to the first Ultima Lucha, which I guess we're retroactively calling Ultima Lucha Uno, where Pentagon defeated Vampiro in that match. So this is Pentagon's signature match, and he is challenging Marty the Moth Martinez for the Lucha Underground Championship. Marty the Moth, I wish this season had been longer. They dedicated more time to his development to this point, but Marty the Moth is a guy I've been singing the praises of ever since he came on board. I think his character work is amazing. I think his character development's been amazing, and he's so good at being the psycho heel that come match time, you're so invested in his matches that his matches are incredible. I thought he had an amazing match with Phoenix last year. The only thing that kept me from saying they didn't have the match of Ultima Lucha is that the Hell of War match happened, and that match was an unbelievable, like, blood-soaked spectacle. But Marty the Moth, he's just been outstanding with everything that they've ever given him. I think back to the Weapons of Mass Destruction match he had with Killshot, the recent match he had with his sister, Mariposa. He just does amazing work every time he's in there, and I think he's a massively underrated talent, massively underrated worker, and I'm happy for him that he's getting the main event spot. I think in the little amount of time that he's gotten in this spot, I think he's done really well with it. I just wish, again, the season had been longer. They dedicated a little bit more time to it, but yeah, I think this match could be very, very good. I expect it to be violent, as matches involving these two typically are violent. I say Pentagon wins the title back, and then Jake Strong cashes in the Gift of the Gods Championship to steal the title. But I expect this match to be a violent spectacle, wild main event, and hopefully a satisfying conclusion to Ultima Lucha Quattro, which begins this Wednesday night on El Rey, and for me a little bit later when I wait for the episode to drop on Amazon Prime so I can purchase it. Okay, now I'm going to close out here by giving my thoughts on Halloween 2018, and again, I'm speaking as a huge fan of the original film and a huge fan of the Michael Myers character. Not so big a fan of some of the sequels, and how I felt they watered down the Michael Myers character with each progressive sequel. Some are better than others. Like 2's okay, but I don't like that Laurie Strode and Michael Myers were brother and sister. I didn't like that reveal. 4 was one of the better ones, and I liked the kid. I thought she was great in it. It has a great ending that they never followed up on. 5 is a piece of shit. I hate the Thorn cult stuff. I can't stand it. Part 6 was terrible. Huge misfire. I have never seen the original version. I've seen the theatrical version. I can't imagine I would enjoy any version of that film. I just didn't care for it. H2O was solid and probably should have been the last one, but then they had to ruin that and go ahead and make Resurrection, which was a pile of shit. Probably the worst one. Then you got the 2 Rob Zombie movies. Never saw the second one. I did see the first one, and it was like, you're fucking up right from the beginning by giving Michael Myers a backstory beyond he killed his sister when he was 6. The fact that you're trying to explain it ruins the whole thing. And so I just write that entire movie off. I'm like, you know, it's like, God damn it, man, come on. Like, you don't explain what motivates Michael Myers. That's the whole essence of the character. But in any case, so now we're getting this one, which with all the confusion with the Halloween timeline, they decided to pull a Godzilla. It's like, all right, we're ignoring all films except for the original film. And I can't tell you how bizarre it is that we have a movie that's a sequel to a movie from 40 years ago that's had a remake in between. It's really strange, but whatever makes money, and this movie is making bank at the box office, so you know, and unfortunately we're going to get a sequel to this, which I'm like, please don't make a sequel, please, it's fine, don't make a sequel, don't make a sequel. So, my feelings all out there on the table. What did I think of this movie? I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Had a couple of nitpicks, not everything was perfect, but the stuff that they got right, they really, really got it right. First and foremost, Michael Myers is the walking death machine, the Shape, the boogeyman, indiscriminately walking around murdering everybody in sight. It is fantastic. It is Michael Myers at his most pure, and they got all of that right. And there's so many... Most of the kills in this movie are done really, really well. I don't want to spoil any of them for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet. And again, I know I'm late to the party by reviewing it over a week after the fact, but fuck it, I'm a fan, so I want to talk about it. But... the deaths were done really, really well. And if you want to see Michael Myers go to town and be Michael Myers, the Michael Myers that he always should have been, watch this movie because they absolutely got it right. Laurie Strode's great in this. I like that they gave her PTSD. And they went more the Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 route rather than just making her gun-toting granny that's a badass. That would have, like, kind of lost me if they went that route. So they went more of a route. It's like, oh, she's emotionally impacted by this, and she's like a broken person. And that made it more emotionally resonant for me. And they actually could have gone farther with it, I think. It would have been better. But, yeah, I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was great. And the climactic battle, I guess you would call it, between Laurie and the Shape was great. Like, it was great crowd-pleasing stuff. And... a lot of great attention to detail as well. So I mostly enjoyed all of that. And, you know, it was great having the music back. It was great having John Carpenter do the music again. Because I've said before, like, Halloween and Jaws are really the 2 movies I can think of where, and maybe Psycho to a degree, where the music is just as much a character in the film as any of the characters are. And if you remove the music, the movie is significantly less without it. And there are a lot of movies you could say that about, but Halloween, like, you remove the music from that original film, it loses its soul. Like, it is a much worse off film without that music. So, it was great listening to John Carpenter's music in this film again, with a whole new score, using the classic Halloween themes mixed in with brand new tracks. And all of that was great. So that was great to listen to. Great stuff. I guess my nitpicks with the film, there were a few moments where they tried to be funny and it really fell flat. Didn't really need to be there. I'm like, you could cut that out. You don't need to be, and I'm the type that's like, look, and it feels like the studio got involved there. It's like, you gotta be funny. You gotta have levity or else people will, lose interest. And I'm like, dude, I'm the type that's like, keep the suspense up. Keep the suspense up, you know. You got this wild serial killer murderer running around. You don't need to be funny. And a little comedy isn't necessarily a bad thing. I probably would have been okay with it if it was actually funny. But some of the scenes that they forced in there were not funny. And it's like, ugh. Now I'm just rooting for you to die. But yeah, I could have done without that. There's a twist in the movie, I don't want to spoil what it is, that was awesome until they did nothing with it. And it was like, oh, so that awesome twist, we're not going to do anything with it, we're not going to go anywhere with it. Oh, okay, so it ultimately, it was an ends to, how do I want to phrase this? It was a justification to get to the climax when I think that they could have done a lot more with it. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail for those who haven't seen it, but I could have done without the twist, or if you're going to do that twist, they needed to do a lot more with it. But overall, did this feel like a true Halloween sequel? Absolutely. I personally felt like more than any other sequel they've ever done, this one felt like a true follow-up to the original film. You know, and again, not all the sequels are bad. It's just that this one really did feel like it fit the original film closer to any other. And you could have gone, to the film's detriment, you could have gone The Force Awakens round and just made the same movie again, which they kind of did in places, but I think there's enough different stuff going on that it feels like it has its own personality and its own identity, and again, everything is just so well done that I just kind of, like, enjoyed the ride. And, again, Michael Myers is outstanding in this film. If you are a fan of the franchise, if you're a fan of that character, watch it for Michael Myers, because he is so awesome in this. So friggin' awesome. That it's perfect villain, perfect monster, which I like. I like my monster movies to have really good monsters, and he really fit the bill here. So, overall, I thought Halloween 2018 was really good. Yeah, it was just a really good film. Just a really good horror film, and especially this time of year with Halloween right around the corner. I might go see it again on Halloween night, just, you know, because why not? But yeah, that concludes my movie review. I'm done here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. I've got a couple more videos lined up for you soon. My kaiju movie review will probably, part 2 of my kaiju movie reviews will probably be posted tomorrow, and I have my next Star Wars review, which will be posted either tomorrow or Wednesday, so be on the lookout for both of those. And I'm going to have more wrestling-related videos for you lined up later this week. Again, my 2 streams happening Friday and Saturday. I promise they will take place. I absolutely 100% promise to you. But that is all I have for you now, so you all have a good night, and I will see you all later.